investment. And now China needs foreign investment even more than it did back then. So I think there's a lot of strains on what China would do. China could do many, many, many things that would harm the U.S. without a doubt. And then just a it's almost limitless how many options they have. But whether they would actually do that, I'm skeptical. I think it would be more tit for tat.
Joking is that idea of protecting market, India protects it by not allowing companies.
India does protect its market. I think, first of all, India is a much smaller economy than China. It's 5 times smaller. Having said that, yes, India does protect its economy. Also because the economy is much more exposed in the sense that if you have like a predator type of business that comes in, then the potential for harm is much greater. And at the end of the day, you want to protect your own people, right? And yeah, well, that's when, and if you're going to have much more unemployment, I mean, this is sort of very basic stuff. But I think India is opening up much more to the market, to the world. There's been a lot of things that's been involved. But I think India has been clear. Trump accuses India of being a tariff producer. He said there's a discount trade. He hasn't said much there. So India is motivated to recognize what the US is going to do. But I think net-net, if you look at the kind of trade that works with the US from India, I mean, it's a relatively high side. Or it can be number 3 on the list after Mexico and Canada. Actually, in a way, it would be good for India. Because it would pay up on the stock market for it. Because it would force an investment inside the country. Companies like Google, like Facebook, industries, companies related to AI, for example, they are doing very well. I mean, they are the leading companies in the United States. Actually, they also exporting a lot of services.
But it's manufacturing, isn't it? That Donald Trump won those swing states.
Yeah, exactly. So what Washington is concerned about is that you don't have a manufacturing base to be the basis for building up a defense industry. I mean, probably the United States is the only country in the world who has this perspective because, defense industry is very important from a geopolitical standpoint. I think this is for sure.
Let's sort of wrap the conversation up to make a final comment, because manufacturing is emotive, isn't it, for many countries?
webinar, the climate question discusses the outcome of this year's COP Climate Summit.
The real financial gap is not the gap between what we are promising and what is needed. The real financial gap is what we are promising and what we will deliver.
Outlook is a free GMT.
When the aspiring Indian National successfully auditioned a player on the Japanese reality TV show, he was ecstatic. He had no idea he was naked and fighting starvation on live TV. Won't believe it, he is.
And then enter a world of secrets as the consumer investigation under Mr. Fox.
An unexpected source offers to help find the man who brilliant police say is at the centre of a plot to smuggle a ton of cocaine to Europe.
That's all coming up here on the BBC World Service.
You're listening to Business Matters here on BBC World Service. Only in the US today. In India, we're going to be talking about India quite a lot. The news will look at what's happening. One of India's most important companies, the Adani company, will be looking at the issue of smog. Talking once again about the gig economy. What can we learn from it?
BBC News with Neil Lewis. President Biden has welcomed a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah that is due to come into effect in Lebanon shortly. Under the agreement, thousands of Lebanese government troops will move into the south of the country as Israel withdraws its forces. Lebanese Prime Minister is
believe it or not, that story is not going away for a while. Although for the moment, after the first 2 days, it's been quiet in the sense that what next? What's going to happen next with this charge that or this sort of accusation that the Adani Group, which is now not just India's richest group, but also I think perhaps one of the world's most one of the world's richest men. Now the Americans have charged him with bribing Indian officials of getting contracts within India and perhaps with exposure to the US. So it's really interesting the manner in which the Americans are playing the role of the global police, because it's fascinating for us in India to see that the Americans are putting the person at a time when you could have been doing it yourself. But never mind, he's supposed to be very close to the Prime Minister.
This has become, I mean, away from the, and of course, it's again, my knowledge but there's a lot of politics in this, isn't it? Because this is a company that's close to the Indian Prime Minister. They hail from the same part of India Mr. Modi is from as well. So how will this go down in India that the US is taking such strong action against one of India's presidents?
Rahul, we are very sensitive. Everybody knows what's going on. It's not as if we don't know how Mr. Adani, who's perhaps a very, very smart businessman, has made a lot of his money. It's because a lot of it is crony capitalism. It's who you know and who you like, and who likes you, perhaps, is more important. But the fact
That
is,
system works in many parts of the world, doesn't it? If you're
it does work
influential.
in many parts of the world, and in the wake of the Adani accusations, I've been reading up a little bit and discovering that there was a Lockheed tax that the Lockheed company allegedly paid, within quotes, the word used was gifts rather than bribe, to companies and to governments around the world. So anyway, I'm not
Again,
in favor or against.
You use the word allegedly there.
Absolutely. Fully allegedly and full capital. Now, the question is that Mr. Adani, a very, very smart businessman, has made a lot of money. Is this going to be part of the force? Is it, so how is this going to play out, is the question. Well, Parliament is in session and there will be a lot of talk about this. But at the end of the day, it's going to blow over. And the reason it's going to blow over is because Mr. Modi has a majority in Parliament. There will be walkouts, there will be a lot of noise, a lot of sound and fury. But at the end of the day, Mr. Modi is not going to secure and that was going to happen. So Mr. Adani is also safe in that sense.
Any quick thoughts for you on this, away from sort of the case that has been filed, but for a country, when you decide, whatever it is, to sort of bring charges against the leading business figure of another country, that moves beyond the courts, doesn't it, and gets into much more complicated economic relations than that.
Yeah, it does, and the United States in recent years has been relying on this law, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, to file cases like this more often, sort of being a bribery and corruption cop, a global bribery and corruption cop, and I mean, from inside the U.S., it just looks sort of interesting and makes you think, the government is looking out for corruption and fighting back against bribery and corrupt practices. The U.S. has used this law against, most famously, I think, in recent years, Walmart, starting a case there back in 2012. The question I'm thinking about now is what happens when President Trump comes back in January. He's talked about not relying so much on this law anymore because the argument is it hurts the U.S. competitively.
I think at the moment, let's be perfectly honest about this, just about every few sentences on this program are going to be, what is Donald Trump going to do when he comes back? And we don't quite know yet. Let's move on to another issue, and of course the Liz Truss once again, the Adani Group has denied all charges against them. At this point, in time. We talk a lot about the smog in Delhi, also, of course, in Punjab, where Jyoti is there on the cross from the border in Pakistan, where Lahore's had lots of problems. Let's just get an update on this. Our India reporter Davina Gupta has been speaking to people affected by the pollution, including Divyansh Kapoor, who owns 3 restaurants in Delhi.
This is season time for everyone, but because of pollution, the environment is not that well for them to come out. On the day the pollution was at its peak, the places which had outdoor seating, the sale was impacted. There was almost a 50% sales impacted, and places which had indoor seating got a 30% reduction in business. Also, employees complaining about throat irritation and all those things. It was a difficult day to manage. So longer term, we will be looking at different things. Even while looking at a new property, I now look at more indoor space as compared to outdoor space.
Tourism is another sector that is harmed by air pollution. A very warm welcome to all of you. The walk will be about 2.5 hours or so.
Viva Sopti is a history expert who conducts group tours at famous monuments in Delhi. I met her at one of the most popular spots of a red sandstone minaret called the Qutub Minar, where she had just finished her tour.
The footfall in the monuments also has been majorly impacted. I mean, like today I did the walk at the Qutub and I was expecting somewhere around 40 people or so. But it was only about half the number which came up. Many people need nebulizers. Some of them just, the older, like a lot of the guides here are also old. They are seasoned guides. So for them also it's problem because their only source of income comes from the people that they take around.
Jyoti, smog update. How bad is it at the moment?
First of all, Rahul, you called the Qutub Minar a red sandstone.
I didn't say that. Okay. It is one of Delhi's iconic.
Come on, guys. Okay. I think, Punjab gets a really bad rap for the smog in Delhi. And I'm going to defend Punjab on this one because now it seems that ISRO, or Indian Space Research Organization, has found that only 25% of Delhi's pollution is because of farm towns in Punjab. And a lot of the remaining is because of the thermal power plant in and around Delhi. Now, this is one index, one parameter. Who knows if the rest of it is also true. But yes, listen, whether it's coming from thermal power plants or whether it's coming from Punjab's farm fire, the question is that Delhi needs to clean up its act. And, tourist cities or as for cities like Mexico City, I think have done it. So I don't see why Delhi can't do that. And this is having a big impact, not just on the health of the people of Delhi and of North India, and like you said, in Pakistan, in Lahore, which is just across the border from us here. I think I'm midway between Lahore and Delhi here in Chandigarh.
Wow.
And it's, a friend of mine was in Lahore last week and she said that it was like an emergency. Everything was shut down.